Okay, so your beat is almost perfect. Your melodies and chord progression are insane. The processing is good. The mix is almost perfect. But there's one little detail that you absolutely need to sweat before you have the perfect beat, and that is your arrangement. And in this video, I just want to give you 4 of my essential tips in order for you to get proper arrangement for your beats. All right, let's get it moving. Okay, boom. So basically, usually when you have your beat, you have it divided in numerous sections, right? Got your intro, your hook, your verse, your hook, your verse, your hook, your bridge, your hook, right? Usually kind of like that. And a cool way to introduce all of those separate parts is to add transitions. And I'm gonna give you 3 ways to apply transitions. That is either with effects like a sample, like a sound effect. You can use frequency automation, and you can use an automation of another effect like halftime, like a slowdown or a tape stop. So I'm gonna just give you an example of a riser and a halftime and frequency automation. Real quick though, this is one of my best drill beats ever. So essentially what I did, I had halftime on this, and I basically kept dialing back the effect until you actually heard the original sample. But it's a cool transition, and it is a cool build-up. And when you use transitions in your beats, you know, you just gotta remember what you're building up towards, because you want all that build-up, that suspense, that building up. You want it to pay off with a big drop or a big release of energy. Okay, cool. So what I did here is I added the riser. Let me play it for y'all. Then it goes immediately into halftime and frequency automation, so we're gonna play that too. Boom, this is where the effect gets dialed back. And the cool thing about transitions is both listeners and producers know that it's essentially an introduction to a new part. So they immediately understand what you're trying to communicate. They immediately understand like, yo, okay, so I gotta brace myself because there's something new coming up. So, you know, experiment with transitions. They're a great addition, and they're very important in arranging your beats. Alright, so another thing that you absolutely need to be applying when you're arranging beats is basically just taking away elements and adding elements. There's a lot of power in the subtlety of just introducing your user to more sounds as the song progresses. As you can see here, basically my instrumentation is composed of, I think, 5 elements, and I'm starting off with like 2 elements here. Let me just play for y'all. And then as the beat progresses, I'm adding all of the elements, so you get a full wall of sound. And now that you've introduced your listener to all the elements, you can experiment by taking them away. See, what I've done here in this particular little part, I've taken all of the drums away, so it's all instruments and, you know, a couple of perks and that kind of stuff. Here, again, I think I've taken a kick away. Hold. There's so much power in just adding stuff and taking away stuff. And usually what I like to do towards the end of the beat, I just introduce my listeners to all of the elements so they can just ride it out until the end. But, you know, essentially adding stuff, taking stuff, there's a very fine line to walk, but, you know, mastering that will definitely, you know, take your arrangement of beats to another level. So go and do that. So adding variations in your patterns is important too. So I gotta be here. I think this is a beat I made back in 2019, but still one of my best R&B beats to date. So what you see here, I've got 2 piano patterns. And what I've essentially done to make it more interesting is basically just extend my chords. So if you want to emphasize that you're in the next part, or if you want to build up, or if you want to emphasize that this next part is deeper, more serious, honestly, extend your chords. Add those minor and major thirds, turn them into 7 chords, 11 chords, 13 chords. I don't really care. Just add variations to your patterns. What you can also do is add more passing notes. I mean, for example, if your pattern is just like a regular schmegular chord on the first beat, you can do that, but you can add a passing chord to make it more interesting. That extra step is already noticeable to your listener. Same goes for melodies. If you've got a target note, like the most important note in your melody that's really laying down that accent, add a note before it, you know, add an extra step. So you're probably wondering what that sounds like. This is essentially what it. It can be a lot more subtle, but this works. The last thing I want to talk to y'all about is the art of structuring your song, and that is different from arranging. Arranging is actually, you know, how you're arranging these separate elements and how you're leading into your sections, and song structure is more about the order in which you've placed all your sections. So what we're used to, especially in hip-hop, is intro, hook, verse, hook, verse, hook, verse, hook, hook, outro, or something like that. But the game is changing. The game is changing to a point where it's very hard to grasp your listeners' attention. You're essentially fighting for attention. So that's why songs like Gucci Gang perform so well. They're no more than 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and that is enough for the listener's short attention span. We live in a very fast world nowadays, and people's attention is divided over their smartphones, whatever's going on in the world, and the plenty of apps and emails and text messages they get and stuff like that. So you're fighting for attention. So you need to be able to make songs and arrange songs and structure songs that can grasp their attention for longer than 30 seconds, because then that's when streams start paying. So I'm imploring all of you, just think long and hard about a song structure that works for you and the artist you're working with. Personally, I've had to learn to cut back on my intros. So my intros are 8 bars long. Then I've got a verse. Then I've got a hook, a bridge, a hook, and an outro. Sometimes what I do is intro and a longer verse, like a 24-bar verse. Then I let the hook ride for 16 bars, so essentially a double hook, and then an outro. We're fighting for ways to grasp our listeners' attention, and I don't have the formula. But what I do know is that there's going to be an influx of more songs that are no longer than 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Hell, Ty Dolla $ign dropped featuring Ty Dolla $ign, and I think the longest song on that album was about 250, or we had one song that went past 4 minutes, whatever. I don't remember that well, but we're moving towards a new standard, and we got to be prepared. All right, cool. So that wraps this video up about my essential arrangement tips. I do hope that this was of value to you. Thank you all for tuning in, and I wish you all the best. Much love. See you in the next video. Peace. Y'all be easy.